Oh man, it's another Les Paul guy just grasping at straws. He's been to 5 different shops. He's got this contraption on the headstock. Oh man. And change the bridge. Have a look at this. They put this roller bridge on, which is coming off. This is all going back to stock, compensated nut. We're going to take care of this. But you'd think they would have got the string spacing right. I mean, come on. Anyway, away we go. We also changed the machine heads to the Shaler locking heads. Man, I've been the voice in the wilderness on this for years. We're going to put this right back to stock. Obviously, he's bought those machine heads and may as well keep them. But they even pulled the bridge post to get that other bridge on there. Okay, so we're going back to stock. We got our trusty hockey puck there so we don't mar the finish like the last guys did. Original bridge post back in. Good press fit. So put that original bridge back on. Yeah, they slopped that in with super glue, so that's not going to make my job any easier. Pitter patter. So in the meantime, we'll get this contraption off. Well, they didn't even tighten the... Maybe they didn't have enough thread left. Ooh, that one's too tight. Oh, man. Like it covers up the Les Paul logo. Are you kidding me? Remember when Gibson tried to introduce the robotic tuners for $2,500 or whatever it was? Boy, I hope they didn't scratch up this headstock too badly with this thing. Yikes. Okay, that's out of there. And like I was saying, you know, Gibson came up with those robotic tuners. God. It's not about the tuners. Anyway, well, these things are on there now, so I'm going to leave them on. He's paid all that money for them. I don't think they're necessary, but anyway, I'll have another look at that. Is that cross-threaded? Let's see this one. Okay, that one's good. I do not know if this one is cross-threaded. We're going to find out in a second. All these contraptions, completely unnecessary. Just have a look at those threads. Yes, they are cross-threaded. Oh, what did they try to cut it down or something? There's a cut mark in there. Dryer and see how lucky we get, or unlucky we get. Let's have a look. Son of a gun. Oh, well, that's one thing that went right. This thing out of there. Hopefully the ledge is okay. We'll have a look when I get it out. Oh, good. That's good and clean. Yes! Sigh of relief. And just wipe up all the goop. I'm going to let that dry up a little, but right now it looks pretty good. It came out. I can't believe we got that out. So that, thank God for super glue solvent. We're almost back to square one here. Get a read on that nut blank for the leg thickness. Looking good. Oh yeah, okay, we're liking that. Oh, that's good. So let me get a standard Les Paul nut, and I'll use that as my tracer. Just went into my junk box of Les Paul nuts that I've changed, and I'll use this for the spacing. Ready for this? So when the last guys pulled the original nut out, here's what happened. They lifted the fingerboard. So that is a 6 thou feeler gauge. So I'm going to load that up with glue, and we're going to re-glue that. I'll just check the other side to see if it's lifting as well. Yeah, it is lifting. I'm going to start on this side with an even smaller feeler gauge, so I'll fill this thinner space with glue first, then we'll do the 6 thou. Well, here we go. This is another kind of mass rescue job. loosen that thing up. This is another reason it would never stay in tune. You basically had a slip joint happening there where it should be a firmly glued joint. So we'll get this guy next. And I'm tempted to actually use that thinner one here as well, just to get a better kind of penetration. The only positive thing out of this is they didn't snap the headstock. Oh, man. So it looks like we've got the lion's share of that joint that was loosened off. And there's no question about it, when they pulled the original super glued nut off, they pulled the fingerboard up with it. So I've got a curved caul here that, and that's pushed everything down, and I can see a little bit of glue squeeze there. I'm happy with that. Alright, we'll clean up the mess while that glue is still wet. Clean up our feeler gauge too while the glue is still wet. Well, most important thing in this case is that the actual headstock didn't break. Whew. Through the danger zone as far as that goes. I got to keep moving and wipe up that glue before it sets. Well, for those who are following my Patreon channel and my YouTube channel, you've seen a few instances where I had to split the original nut in half, and in some cases it came out like an impacted tooth. If it doesn't come out in 4 minutes with a hair dryer, it ain't coming out without splitting it where it breaks up like an impacted tooth. And that was a couple of Les Pauls back. I think we ended up facing that case scenario. So at least this one is rescued now. So you can bet that that loose joint, I mean it was loose from the edge of the fingerboard right up to about the 4th fret. So that would actually be slipping on the string tension. There's no question about it that this was also part of the multiple reasons why this guitar wouldn't stay in tune. Or he couldn't even get it in tune. You'd never have any tuning stability with that joint slipping like that under string tension. Okay, we'll let that set and we'll reinstall that compensated nut and we will go through this whole thing again. So before I bring this into the studio, plug it in and let you hear it, I just want to give you the lowdown on what we did here. So first of all, we ditched that roller bridge, put the original bridge back on. I did have to flip a couple of saddles to kind of get it to line up perfectly. The machining on these saddles is not as tight as I'd like to see. I put some blue Loctite liquid nylon in there to just firm things up. So that's good and solid now. No issue with intonation, no issue with tuning. I did dress the frets and get everything dead level. And as you saw earlier, when they pulled that super glued nut out, the original one, they actually lifted the fingerboard up. And they didn't. Maybe they never noticed that they lifted the fingerboard up. But anyway, just want to bring you in for a second here. I don't know if this is going to show with the camera or not. Sort of bring you in tight. You can see right along here where the lacquer actually busted when that fingerboard lifted. Anyways, as you saw earlier, I slipped some feeler gauges in there, fed some glue in, closed it up. No longer an issue. And what you see here is a compensated nut for 10 to 46 strings, 24 and 5/8 inch scale, drop down to E flat. So the other thing that was changed in the mix as this guy went from shop to shop to shop, the original Clouson heads were taken off and these Shaler locking tuners were put on. Now I have to admit, these Shaler locking tuners are very nice. So I don't think they were necessary, but they're on there. You know, Mike has paid the money for them, so we'll just let sleeping dogs lie as far as the tuners go. So I did swap out this original plastic jack plate that was chipped for a chrome one. It's not really a big deal, but it just bugged me. After all the grief this guy's gone through with this guitar, I want to make sure it was 100% plus when he gets it back. So of course the other thing was we ditched that roller contraption that was on there covering the Les Paul logo. There was absolutely no need for that. You'll hear it when we plug this thing in. You could do a bluegrass gig on this thing now. All those first position chords are perfectly in tune. In fact, every chord is perfectly in tune. Let's have a listen. Okay, here we go, moment of truth. So, as you've heard me do so many times before, I'm just going to start with the same chords in different positions along the entire span of the neck. So here's our E. E major 9. E major 7. Here's a G. Garden variety G. A C. So you can see all those chords are in tune. F major 7 and F major 7. So all of these hip tunes that he's playing, a lot of them are first position chords. So you got to play chords on a Les Paul that you would typically play on a Martin flat top. So G, D, C, A minor, C, G. I have this Larrivee and this 12 string to get onto, so I don't have time today to go into the studio and prove one more time that Les Pauls can actually be intonated. So let's look at this C form again. And I've used this in other videos as well. If I move that up to the 8th and 10th, this is a G chord in this familiar C form. He's got a pair of Duncan pickups in here. This is the neck. Bridge pickup. So in defense of guitar techs everywhere, one of the most common complaints is fret buzz. It's kind of the buzzword, right? But realistically, if you give me any guitar that's ever made, I'll make it buzz. Just watch me. I'll play it with a toonie, or a silver dollar. Watch me make it buzz. No matter how accurate the lay of the neck is and the frets are dressed and polished and recrowned, everything else, the oscillation pattern of the string needs enough room to vibrate. So in this case, Mike has to tune down to E flat. Well, this definitely takes tension off the strings, and they're much looser on the initial attack. Now, he initially wanted to go to 9 to 42, but I went through that with the last Les Paul. It is nothing but trouble. When those strings are sloppy loose like that, You just strum a garden variety G chord and watch it on your tuner. It'll go way sharp. I don't care how accurate the neck is or the fret's been dressed and the setup and everything else. Those strings are so loose that the oscillation pattern is just total slop. It's going to go way sharp and then it'll gradually wobble back to center. So after talking to Mike about this, we decided to settle on a 10 to 46 string, tuned down to E flat, and that's passable. All those first position chords. Enough said, I gotta get back to this Larrivee in the 12 string. Hope you enjoyed that, hope you learned something. Stay safe, stay healthy. Cheers.